Let's take a tour of the galaxy's most famous mobile home. What's up, meta-nerds? This video is all about the Jawa Sandcrawler. We'll cover its history and do a complete breakdown, even a tour of this ship, and then close out with some behind-the-scenes facts and all that good stuff. But first, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Skillshare. This is actually really cool for me because I've been wanting to work with this company for a while. Some of you guys have seen the video quality increase a lot over the years, and multiple times a week I get asked what I use to edit and how to make a successful YouTube channel. All these kinds of topics and many more can be explored on Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community with thousands of classes that cover all sorts of creative and entrepreneurial skills. I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit, and they have a ton of courses on that. For Mac users, you might use Final Cut Pro, and they've got that covered too. But what a lot of creative entrepreneurs don't think about is the marketing and business management side of it, both essential and something Skillshare can help you with. The annual premium membership is less than $10 a month, which is way less than what you would pay to get that kind of education from a university or even a community college workshop. With Skillshare Premium, you get unlimited access to all of their classes and communities. And since it is online, you get to work through the classes at your own pace. Best of all, you can sign up with the link in the description and get a 2-month free trial. Perfect for sticking to those ambitious New Year's resolutions. So if you have any creative ideas or business plans, be sure to check out that link. It will help the channel and will definitely help you grow your skills. But with that, let's go back long before the Battle of Yavin, when the first of the Sandcrawlers set upon the sand dune seas. It originally started off as a mining vehicle, with its enormous cargo holds carrying materials to the mining camps and then over to the spaceports. Around 4000 BBY, there was a mining boom on Tatooine, and this outer rim no man's land was swarmed by Sandcrawlers made by Corellia Mining Corps and the Zerka Corporation. Each of these models was an enormous vehicle on treads, but the Zerka design didn't stick around. It's unclear why exactly the only variants we see are these Corellian models, but if the Zerka models were inferior, I think it's safe to say that the Jawas would have reduced them to parts. And though hated enemies, the Sand People actually ended up helping the Jawas come into possession of them, as they would often attack any Sandcrawlers that they came across.
Came out of nowhere. Wait, damn it! Here they come again. How did it do that? No way we're repairing this thing while getting attacked over and over. The desert can have it. The Jawas will salvage it eventually anyway. Then we can buy it back and start over. Makes sense to me.
The Corellian version, aka the Digger Crawler, cost the company 150,000 credits, which is the cost of an X-Wing. There were a couple reasons why they went with treads over repulsors. First, it was the most cost-efficient, both in the production side, as even though repulsor lifts are a ubiquitous tech found in all kinds of cheap consumer vehicles, it starts to get pricey with this much larger operation. The vehicle itself already had an incredible weight, but when filled with tons of rock and ore, it just pushes it over the top. And not that the treads never broke down, but they were much more reliable than repulsor tech. When traveling across the Dune Sea, you would often get caught in the raging winds of a sandstorm. These clouds of fine particulates would wreak havoc on repulsor tech, while also pushing around any hovering object. A simple track and some wheels was much less complicated, and when spread over these 8 wide tracks, all that weight is nicely distributed and firmly pressing down, preventing you from getting blown over and keeping the ride stable, if admittedly slow. The top speed of the Sandcrawler was only 30 km per hour or 19 miles per hour, making it one of the slowest vehicles in the galaxy, about half that of the armored assault tank. The hull of this beast was designed to take the continuous pounding of those sandstorms, which also ended up making them blaster resistant. When the Jawas eventually moved into them, they turned it into a sort of castle. The hull would be the walls that surrounded and protected the city from danger, from both raiding Sand People and even the mighty Crate Dragon. Being 40 meters or 131 feet long, it was about 4 Jawas longer than the MTT. At 20 meters or 66 feet tall, it was twice the height of that droid carrier. And at 13 meters or 43 feet wide, it was nearly 2 TIE fighters across. If it showed up here on Earth, it would be about 3 school buses long, 4.5 wide and 6 tall, around a volume of 72 school buses. So the timeless Tatooine rivalry between these two species was now between nomads and walled city dwellers. The voluminous interior spaces were intended to fill up to 50 tons of cargo, equivalent to 61 dewbacks, but this area was now segmented into several workstations and sleeping quarters. 6 Jawas would sleep in a space the size of a standard humanoid closet, and there are some reports saying that up to 300 Jawas and 1,500 droids could call this place home. This mobile fortress home would contain everything they needed, with food and drink being acquired through trade. It became custom for about half of the tribe to stay in the hidden rocky dwellings of their ancestors, while the other half was out on sandcrawlers fishing all sorts of valuables out of the Dune seas. The settlers had access to blasters and other off-world creations, and so trade was great for everybody. There are no reports of Jawas ever turning these creations on rival Jawa tribes. Instead, quite the opposite. They were said to meet in the desert once a year for a massive swap meet. Sandcrawlers from different tribes would all meet and trade with each other. And this is just speculation, but perhaps the so-called Dune Sea Haggle Day was a tradition created to ensure the strength of the Jawa, coming together once a year to ensure that the needs of the Jawa tribes were met first, before they went out and traded with the growing number of off-worlders. The village-protecting vehicle was propelled by these gyrodyne nuclear fusion engines. Running almost the entire height of the vehicle, these massive vents would expel heat and steam from the reactor. Being fusion power plants, these reactors were the same ones dropped off all those millennia ago, still providing the incredible amount of power needed to keep this thing running. When they did come across something of value, they had a ton of different ways to collect it. If it was a small droid, the side-mounted repulsor tube could extend and pull the droid into the droid bay located on the first deck. These rooms would be strewn with all sorts of oddities, like RA-7 protocol droids, Gonk droids, R5 astromechs, treadwells, and tons of other scrap that might be useful in repairing those droids. These could be offloaded when trading via these side hatches with retractable stairways, or just through this main front hatch door. To keep with our castle comparison, you could think of this as the drawbridge to this Jawa fortress. You can see other salvage cranes located inside these upper decks, which processed a wide variety of larger materials, be they hunks of raw ore or ship parts. You can see where the ore would be stored in these bins before being processed by grinders and then scanned by the pre-processing laser, which would identify any valuable metals or minerals. Energy from those reactors would be used to melt down the ore, and it would all flow into molds to make ingots. But this same process could be used to melt down a whole ship, vehicle, or even village. In the year 9 ABY, a Jawa tribe on Arvala 7 would strip down the Razor Crest used by a Mandalorian. This would amount to leaving the bounty hunter for dead, and the Jawa should have been able to tell that this was not some derelict craft long left to the elements. It took everything from paneling, valuable engine parts, even wiring, and computer systems that could all fetch some credits. Robbed and left to die in the desert, the Mandalorian opened fire on the Jawas. We can see how they would lay out their day's bounty for sorting, but when their tribesmen started turning into dust, they ran back into their protective fortress. We can see that even the powerful disruptor rifle shot does not disable the Sandcrawler. Some steam got a new vent, but other than that it keeps going a great distance, though again stuck at that max speed of around 20 miles per hour. When the Mando tries to scale the castle walls, we also see how these side panels could open up like windows, and how lookouts on top would coordinate with the commander. In this split-level cockpit, the tribe leader and his top advisors would direct the navigators. A wide array of sensors could pick up metals from a great distance, with it all being relayed to the Jawa crew via these ancient sensors. There were 46 crew members on hand spread throughout the Sandcrawler as it operated, while the others would be sorting and repairing the salvage tech, operating that forge, or just conducting maintenance. This tribe on Arvala 7 seems to have either had a really great salvaging streak, or their population has overgrown the confines of the hull, as we keep seeing them all spread out when parked, and with these tents on the roof of the Sandcrawler. I think most likely they just have a lot of excess salvage to sort, but it could be that they outgrew it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. It was unheard of for a Tusken Raider to scale a Sandcrawler, but this bounty hunter knows that if he wants his parts back, this is the way. As the Jawa mobilized, they threw scrap to dislodge him, but ultimately had to rely on their trusty ion blasters. Each of these are simple modifications of salvaged blaster parts, each with varying sizes, and even a triple barrel blaster version. These became popular weapons with the Jawa because they were excellent for capturing droids alive. And back on Tatooine, if they ever killed a human settler, even if it was deserved, that would be hard to convince the other humans. Much more likely was that the Jawa killing would be seen as an act of aggression, and these settlers might start to kill Jawa on sight, like how they treated the Tuskens, who were often killing each other. We also see that even when confronted with stolen goods, the Jawa are not willing to give them back, but instead they use it to acquire a rare delicacy. But how exactly did the Jawa get from Tatooine to Arvala 7? Well, where this new world is in the galaxy is still a mystery, though its out-of-the-way description likely has it as another sandy Outer Rim world. It is not just another name for Tatooine, and this place only has one sun. The only explanation is that either these Sandcrawlers were on multiple desert worlds doing their mining thing, and were just abandoned here as well, with later Jawas that were hitching rides with other travelers moving here and rediscovering their favorite vehicle. Or as many have wondered, could the Jawa be a spacefaring people, either buying large ships or just building them in order to take their treasure hunting to the next level? There's a fan-made ship that was really interesting that we covered in a previous video. If you want to check that out, it's a really fun, plausible creation. and made even more plausible after these black-robed Jawa of Arvala 7. So that's it for its history and breakdown, but you definitely want to hear these cool facts and behind-the-scenes stuff. The Sandcrawler has appeared in too many things to list, but the cross-section comes from the Star Wars Complete Cross-Sections book, with additional facts coming from the Encyclopedia of Starfighters and Other Vehicles, the Atlas, and the Essential Guide to Warfare. In a legend story, the way these Jawa who sold the droids to Uncle Owen were killed was with the support of an Imperial flying fortress. And those ancient Sandcrawlers are from the game Knights of the Old Republic. Lucas said the inspiration for the design came from NASA's space rocket carrier, and then for the film they built a scale model of one that used a motor from a model Tiger tank. This motor was so powerful they said it could pop a wheelie and zip around the set. But what has to be the most ridiculous is how the Sandcrawler almost started a real-life war. Filming was done near the Tunisian-Libyan border, and for those close-up shots they built full-scale treads in the base of the Sandcrawler. This massive vehicle on their border had Libya worried, and they informed Tunisia that they were aware of this craft and would mobilize their military if it was not moved. So that's it for the Jawa Sandcrawler. If you want to connect with us on social media, find ways that you can help support our channel without it costing you a thing, or check out our Patreon. Be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon. But most important of all, remember, no matter the time or the desert, if you take a man's horse or his starship, you might as well have committed murder. And the Force will be with you, always.